Okay, so here I am. It's a nice sunny day. Not really. This is the first time we've seen sun in about 2 days. And I want to talk about the basic mechanics of the bike and shifting so that we are all using the same language. And then when I take a ride later to show you how the gears work and how you can apply them, we're all on the same page. Now the bike has, this is the left side, this is the right side. You can, if you have a problem with that, you can paint an L over here and an R over here. I'm only kidding. And this controller on the left controls two things. One is it controls the front brake and a paddle. Now different manufacturers have different ways, so I can only use to demonstrate what I have here, so you'd have to look at yours to get the specifics. And this paddle is for the controller. Some paddles you push one way and it shifts down, and then you click or push it lightly and it goes up. Same thing on this side. The right hand side though controls the rear brake and the rear gears. Down here we have the thing called the chain ring. Now chain rings, most bikes have two, some have three, some only have one. But most road bikes have two. They have a large chain ring and a small chain ring. They're used for different purposes, and I'll get to that. This is the front derailleur. The rear derailleur, which is operated and actuated by the right lever, controls where the position of the chain is on the gears. We call these gears. Now some bikes have various numbers, up to 11. Some could have 8. Some could have only 1. In which case you wouldn't even have a derailleur. But we want to make sure that we understand how they all work. So now, let's talk about, before I go out on the road, let's talk about the practicality of this. The way it's set right now, I'm in the small chain ring in the front and a relatively large gear in the back. That's for going uphill. We will talk about that in our cadence discussion, which I think really should be done before this, so that you understand. You want to keep a somewhat constant cadence. So if you're going up a hill, this is what you use. Now you get to the point where you say, this is not, I'm getting so slow, I'm starting to slow down. So you go to the rear derailleur and you shift it. One click up, goes to a little bit lower gear. The larger the gear is in the back, the lower it is. It's the other way around here for the chain rings. So now you get into a lower gear so that you can go up a steeper hill or a longer hill. Just remember keeping your cadence where in its sweet spot. Get to the top or near the top, you can start to shift with the front right derailleur, and it goes up into a little bit higher gear. Now it's possible. I'm going to say it's possible. Depending upon your cadence and what you like, you could ride the whole event in the small chain ring. But when you get to a certain point, you'll find that you go downhill, and when you go downhill, you'll be spinning so fast that your legs are just going around and really not getting anywhere. Don't freewheel. I'll talk about that during the cadence. Don't just sit there. You might as well sit on a couch if you're just going to freewheel half the time. So when you find yourself going downhill, you shift on the left to bring the derailleur up. You'll get into the large chain ring, and now you're in a higher gear. Still, this one is higher gear, and we're still in a lower one back here. So if I really am going downhill fast, I want to get this back one up a couple gears. So I'll shift it to get where I like it to be, so that I feel more comfortable with that. And as I'm going along now, if I spy that I'm coming up to a rise or a hill, I'm going to take my front chain ring, I'm going to shift down on the front chain ring. Okay, see how comfortable I am. If that's too low, I can adjust by shifting upward in the back until I find a gear that's comfortable for me. Basically, that's how the gear system works. And aside from a hands-on approach, riding with you, this is the best I can do here to do that, is to learn this. Now let's look at it one other way. The big chain ring is harder. The small chain ring is easier. The small gear is harder, and the big gear, the larger gear, is easier. So you might look at it that way. So you want to say, if you're going along, I can go a little bit harder here. If I can go a little bit harder and I'm set up like this, I shift my big chain ring, I go into a little bit harder gear, and we'll see how that feels. If that's a little bit too hard, then I can adjust by moving my rear derailleur inward a little bit to take a couple of gears in and make it so that I'm riding where I feel comfortable. Once you have this down, you should never have to walk up a hill. We don't have any hills at the tour that are really that significant. Learn how to shift. You see something that looks steep to you, and it's all relative. One person's steep is another person's easy, but and it has nothing to do with really your general ability. It's just that it's different for different people. If you find that you are going up a hill, shift into your small ring. Shift down into the small chain ring, and then adjust in the rear accordingly. If you adjust all the way up to that biggest gear, hard for me to do this with one hand. I tried it with a holder, but it doesn't work too well. Okay, now look, I'm going up, 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 up. Oh, I still need more help. Oh, still not enough. This is the lowest gear you got. I'm about to get there. That's the lowest gear you got. Now, if you can't push the pedals around, you're going to have to get off and walk. But walking is so inefficient. I figure in bike shoes, the best you can do in walking is about 2 to 3 miles an hour. And if you're even pedaling very slowly in your lowest gear to get up a hill, you're probably doing 4 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour. So you're losing at least 50%. Just remember, the bike is a machine. It's loaded with levers to give you efficiency, gears to help you be within your capability. It's got brakes to help you stop when you have to, and it's a marvelous thing. So that's the lesson on shifting. It's hard to do here on a basis just talking about it. You have to get out and practice. But if you know which ones, this is the big gear, hard gear is the big chain ring, easy gear is the small chain ring, hard gear is the smallest gear at your highest gear, and the easiest is your biggest gear, which is your lowest gear. And if you can learn how to manipulate these and which ones, you can have a lot more fun at the Tour de Pink. And combine this with my the discussion I'll have on cadence, and the next one I'm going to do, I'm about to get dressed to go out and take a quick ride to show you how to apply this while out riding.